Okay, NetBeans. So I've already got a project here, and it's actually a web project. I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to create. The first thing you have to do in NetBeans is you have to create something called a project. And what I would recommend is create a project, just a regular old Java application. And you don't want to create a new project for every lab. That's kind of, well, maybe you do. I don't know. Why don't we just say, I'm just going to call mine CIS254 SU12. Right? And I'm going to do everything in there. Okay. So it creates this, and it also creates a package called that, which I really don't like that it does that. You can do that. Well, you can do that. Just don't like that it does that. I just assume delete that and create my own. So you want to create a package. I'm going to create a package, and I'm just going to call it lecture 1. Call it week 1. Here we go. 1A. No, today's Thursday. I'll just call it week 1. Okay, then I want to create a new class. And we're going to call this welcome. Now, here's the problem with NetBeans, and Eclipse has the same problem. They all have the same problem. Is right here. It creates a called package, and that's to organize it. And so it adds that every time you use a package. But if we look at the code we created in Notepad, there's no package there. This is a problem. So if you do like a select all, copy, select all, paste, you're going to lose the package. And I'll show you what happens here. If I decided to do something like that and come over here and do, it's going to tell me it's an error. Incorrect package. And that's because I got rid of the package. All IDEs organize Java programs this way. So you just have to be careful if you're copying and pasting between Notepad and somewhere else that you don't delete this package. Okay? Now that's pretty much it. If you're not seeing any red marks indicating an error, you can just go right-click and click Run Program. Down here you'll see the output. Welcome to Java. Okay? That's it. How to delete? How to delete what? Oh, that original package? I just right-clicked on the package and went down to delete. Do you see that, Brianna? Okay, so if we're creating a new package, it's just File. New Project. And we only really need to do this once. I would just, for most of your stuff, I would do it all in one project. Java is the category. Java application is the project. It's just a simple Java application. And in the project name, you can put whatever name you want. You might want to say CIS 254 or something like that. I don't want to do it all over again, but test. Right? Actually, you can get rid of that. If you unclick that, that'll probably create it without that initial package. Let's see. Right, and it didn't do any packages or anything either. Now you can create all of your files in this default package, but that's not recommended at all. And then you can do a new Java class and call it welcome. And now you don't see a package name. Right, and then the reason for that is because we're creating it under what's known as the default package. For the simple stuff, that's okay, but for more complicated stuff, that's not going to work. But you certainly could do it that way. and then you'd be good to go. Save it, right-click, go down to Run File. Okay. Does that help, Brianna? Okay, so anatomy of a Java program. Class name, main method, statements, terminator. So go back to NetBeans. See, class name is right here. That's the name of the class. Main method is right here. Main method is, as I said earlier, it's the entry point into a program. It's where it starts. And you can have multiple methods. I don't want to get into it. You have to have a main method for the program to be runnable, but you can have more than one method. I can write additional methods if I want. I can come down here and write public static void my method. Oops. Yeah. And I can do something here. So I can do that. It's fine. Now if I run this, we get welcome to Java, but we never get welcome to my method. And that's because the main method runs automatically. Oh, to run the program again, just right click, go down to Run File. Click Run File. Okay? But we never see this. And that's because while main method is run automatically, it's the only thing that's run out automatically. After that, everything else has to be executed specifically. Linking a website to a Java program is end of semester. It's not going to be covered on the first day, Stacy. You can do it. You definitely can do it. But you need to learn the basics before you try and do something like that. Okay. So what if I wanted to run my method? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You just type in my method. Now if I run this, now I get the welcome to my method because I ran it from the main method. Now if I take this guy and I move it up top, now we're going to see that we'll get welcome to my method first and then welcome to Java. See that? Okay, so more on that later. I'm getting a little ahead. And, you know, we'll get to all this stuff, but web applications is much later. So the statements, the print statements that we see there, this is a statement, an executable statement. The terminator statement, terminators, is the semicolon. It's like a period in a sentence. You have to put a period at the end of a sentence. You have to put a semicolon at the end of a command. No, number of spaces don't matter. It's white space independent. The compilers don't care about that. The white space or the spacing is really to make it more readable for you, the programmer. The compiler doesn't care. You could lump everything together on a single line if you wanted to. Reserved words are essentially words that you can't use for variables or anything, like, you know, things that are in there. And they're generally highlighted. So, you know, like public and class are reserved words. Reserved words are generally words that are part of the language. Comments allow you to put comments in. And if we look at this, we'll see this is a comment right here. This program, a comment is something that you put in your code that the compiler ignores, but it's meant for people to see, right? So I can write a comment here, and there's two different types of comments. There's what they call single line comments, which is this one up here that starts with the double forward slash, and then there's multi-line comments, which you do with a slash asterisk and end it with an asterisk slash. There's also something programmers often say is that they're going to comment it out. And what that means is that they're going to take a part of the program and comment it out, this way essentially disabling it from running again, probably to test something. So for example, if I don't want my method to run, but I don't really want to delete it from here either, I can just put a double forward slash on it, and now it's seen as a comment, and Java will not run it. So if we run it again, we will not see welcome to my method. See that? Now if I uncomment it, I can now run it. And now I do get that. So that's generally referred to as commenting it out. And then blocks are essentially blocks of what they call code. Blocks are always delimited by the open curly bracket and the closed curly bracket here. So if you see these little curly brackets, those are your comments. We're going to talk more about blocks as time goes on. They're used in various different places. But every method contains a block of code. And a block of code just means 2 or more commands, is all that means. Right, so we look at this. Every Java program must have at least one class. It's got to have a main. Well, it's got to. Actually, it doesn't really have to have a main method. It's not going to do very much if you don't have it. Class names, by convention, always start with an uppercase letter. Line 2 defines the main method in order to run a class. So you actually don't need to have a main method, but if you don't, it won't do anything. It won't do anything at all. So it'd be kind of useless. But you actually don't have to have this. And then it's also going to usually have at least one command to execute. Although, again, you don't have to have that. But it's just not going to do very much if you don't have it. The semicolon, again, is the statement terminator. It's like a period in a sentence. It ends the sentence or it ends the command. Reserved words. So anything that's part of the language is generally considered a reserved word. Like public class, public static, void. Those are all part of the language, so they're reserved. Blocks, as I said, are anything in between the curly brackets. That's a block. Actually, the whole class is a block. And then you've got an inner block on the main method. Special symbols. Any questions so far? These special symbols, the curly brackets, we already looked at it. Opens and closes a block. Opening and closing on parentheses is used generally for methods. So if I look at here, when I call my method, I add an open paren and a closed paren after it. And so that's required for a method call. It's also used, we'll look at later on, in doing something called sending a parameter or a value, an argument, to that method, or giving it some additional data, is done between these. And, like I said, more on that later.